How's it going, everybody? It's the CDH Warrior coming at you with another episode of CDH. We survived this. Now what? So, let's roll the title. So today we are dealing with high school. As I put it, the weirdest 4 years you will ever have. That's the way I put it last week. For me, high school wasn't that big of a deal. So, high school, I state it wasn't that big of a deal. It was a moderate deal for me. Because, and the storm somewhat agrees with me. So with high school, you've gone past the junior high preteen stage. And now you're pretty much dealing with, on that weird, awkward phase between being a kid and being an adult. And we will get into what happens when you go to college. If you go to college, the workplace, how to move on from that next week. I originally planned for this to be our finale of this set, but I think I'll do one more next week. Anyway. So let's talk about high school. High school has a lot of added pressures. Everyone starts, like I said, with junior high, everyone starts to notice you're different. High school, it just becomes an outright obvious existence that you're different. Or at least in my experience. High school pretty much leaves you with a number of questions and a number of issues. And we'll deal with the college side of things probably next week. Because it's when you're kind of at that last stage before you're an adult. So, what are some things you need to know? What are things that you need to worry about? With high school, you're going to end up with the cliques. They're more extreme now. And if you don't fit in, it makes it that much harder. High school for me was very weird because it was around that time that I finished moving, which I finished moving like 14, 15 years old. That was when we finished moving from South Georgia to Southwest Virginia. Yes, we moved for 3 years. It took us that long to get everything sorted out. But I was kind of offered some easier ways with things because I was not in public school, so I can't speak to the public school side of things, but I was still in a lot of public groups, if that makes sense. I was in Scouts. I was in a youth group. I dealt with some things like that. And it's when, in my case, I dealt with worse. Although I'd say it's probably not as bad as I try to make it out. It probably was much easier. But it's when I dealt with the issues of there was, it wasn't peer pressure, but there was an obvious existence to still conform. The old junior highways still exist. But for me, I was dropped into a situation where I was in a new state. I didn't know anyone. I was dealing with all the cliques that had, in my case, most of the cliques had already existed in their junior high years, and now I'm trying to figure out how to assimilate into the groups, which I failed miserably. And then there were the overarching questions. Remember, high school teenagers, they start paying attention to everything. So I frequently got asked questions about my scarring and what it was, and I'll be honest, there were some people that turned their nose at me. Almost looked at me like I was damaged goods, which I guess I can see where they're coming from, but at the same time, it hurt. It hurt to watch. It hurt to be in that position. We'll probably discuss next week, in kind of our last episode of this series, college and the workplace, which I'm going back to college. That should be fun. But we're slightly off topic here. Back to high school. So, with high school, you deal with, like I said, we went through the cliques and all of the issues and the irony where I moved, so it made it 10 times worse. But beyond that, you deal with a lot of the interpersonal issues. I mean, I hated high school, but I loved my senior year, ironically. And it's not because of where I was. It was more, it wasn't the power or the prestige or anything, although that did kind of exist being an upperclassman. It was more the fact that I actually started to get some respect. And I don't mean that as a forced thing. I ended up dealing with issues throughout high school. Around that time, you start trying to figure out dating, which I will do a whole episode on that. You start trying to figure out dating. You start trying to figure out career next steps, which ironically I'm still in the middle of at 28, 10 years after high school. But that's a story for another time. It's one, doing these videos helps me get things off my chest, but also gives me a way to show you all what I went through and what you could possibly go through with CDH. But we were dealing with senior year of high school and dealing with the ages and stages of that. High school is hectic because in 4 years you go from I'm barely a teenager to I'm looking at college and a career. That's 4 years that you go through. But it's one, it can make it harder when you look back because you don't realize what all you went through. I mean, I'm doing these videos and I'm now realizing how much I went through. It's one, you start complicating all the issues with CDH because you're starting to get judged on physical attributes. Okay, not just how do you look, but your athleticism, things like that. And I could keep up in the moderate sense, but I wasn't. I mean, the people I was trying to deal with and compete with were football and basketball players. They were built, they were very muscular, very tall, strong. Basically everything that I wasn't. But that's the majority of high school for most people. I know most people will go through high school and deal with something similar. But from the perspective of having CDH compound those issues, it makes it hard. It makes it unusual to deal with. And in the next few weeks, I'll get better structured videos. I'm trying, folks. But it's one, I think some of these videos where I'm just saying what comes off the top of my head kind of helps you understand the mindset I'm in. And the mindset that a lot of us go through. The whole reason why I'm doing these videos and why I'm looking at, as I said, I'm looking at dealing with school, and we'll get into that next week. But it's a very awkward phase to exist in. As I saw it put once, at high school level, everyone wants you to be an adult while still being able to treat you like a child, which is a semi-accurate description of it. And that's pretty much 16, 17, and 18. Really 15 through 18. 14 is still that awkward preteen phase that nobody actually wants to talk about. But for high school, and especially the end of high school, you have 4 years to make an impression. And when you're already dealing with the issues in the back of your head of living with CDH, dealing with a rare disorder, trying not to be awkward around people, and still trying to be normal and appear normal, it's tough. You will get through it. You will be able to function. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to be... I always thought junior high was the hardest, basically the hardest 4 years. No. 11 through 14 is easy. 11 or 14 through 18 is the hard part, going through high school. Because now you're dealing with the social hierarchy. In junior high, you have the cliques and you have the minor things, but you don't have the social hierarchy that you do in high school. And that will be what follows you for the rest of your life. I'm kind of at a point where I'm just droning on and on. So I will kind of wrap this video up now. Next week we're going to try and do college and getting into the workforce. But that's pretty much all I've got for this series is next week. That's going to be our finale. So for the CDH Warrior, I'm Drew Monday, and I will see you next week with another CDH, another episode of CDH. We survived this. Now what? Have a great day. Thank you for watching.